Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the blue is the blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, hope you had a great weekend. Monday Night Football is upon us. The Washington Commanders will take their show on the road and take on the red-hot Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead in Week 8 on Monday Night Football. This is one of the most daunting tasks that the Commanders will face this season. It is the final game on the schedule remaining that I feel like is a kamikaze mission. Do I think we're going to beat Detroit? No. But is it an impossible task? Absolutely not. They're very beatable. That game is at home. Jaden Daniels should be back. In my mind, he will be back. Hopefully we stay healthy everywhere else and don't incur any more injuries. That's a winnable game in my mind. This one, however, is not. However, this is why they play the game. Now, to me, in my mind, we're already 3-5. That's a loser mentality, but that's just where we are right now, okay? And I'm okay with that. I've already processed that in my brain. I've baked tonight's loss into my whole theory of us turning this season around and having this season be a lot different than what many of you think this season is going to be, because a lot of you have already punted on the 2025 season. I have, however, have not, okay? I've injected hopium. I'm here, and I'm ready to execute the plan that has been laid out. Now, winning tonight isn't a part of that plan, but I would love it to be. But here's what tonight represents for me, and what tonight represents for everyone is a little bit different. I've already told you, this will never change as long as I have breath in my body. The minute I sit in front of my television tonight, you can't tell me we're not winning the damn game. Okay? But as I sit here, more than 6 hours removed from kickoff, I know better. And when you know better, you do better. Okay? However, this is what this game represents to me. And for someone else, it may represent an opportunity to shock the world. That's not where my head is. Okay? That's not what this team has shown me that they're capable of. What this game represents, two items. And these are big ones. Really, really big in the grand scheme of things. Huge, monumental, colossal, even. The first is probably the biggest, because this has ramifications and a ripple effect that could send the foundation and the core of what they build crumbling down to its knees. And that's the Brotherhood. Tonight represents the strength of the Brotherhood. We've talked about it all of last week because the Brotherhood is being tested. There are questions about the Brotherhood. DQ has never answered more questions about the fabric, the DNA of the Brotherhood. He's been asked questions in the past about what makes this Brotherhood so strong and this, that, and but he hasn't had to answer questions about, is the Brotherhood still intact? How strong is it? Is the locker room good? Do the guys still believe? This is where you find out what you've built is strong enough to stand the test of time and adversity. This is when you find out. Not when shit's going well. We talked about that last week. Not when things are going well. Everybody's down. You see it with the fan base. I've talked about this so many times with our fan base in particular. You see this when shit's going well. Man, people you haven't seen, heard from, talked to in ages come out of the woodworks. Everyone's excited. Everybody wants a piece of the action because we up. It's fun. Everyone likes to participate when it's fun. But when shit starts to hit the fan and it's starting to go downhill and it gets dark and it gets bleak and hell is hot, people scatter. Fans don't want to be a part of that. You don't see as many people showing up. You don't hear as many people voicing their opinions. can find other things to do with their time that's better than to spend it on this team. That's human nature. It's a part of what happens when shit's not going well. I talk about sports being a microcosm of life. Same thing in your life. When things are going well and everything's on the up and up, people want to come around. It's great. When things aren't going well and you need a helping hand, or you just need someone to be there for you, you don't find as many people willing to dedicate that type of energy, resources, or time to you. That's where we are with the Brotherhood. It's tough. You should be no worse than 4-3 right now. Probably could easily be 5-2, but you're not. You've had injuries, just like everybody else in the league. You might have had a little bit more than some teams, but that's just the nature of the beast in the NFL. Sometimes you get hit with the injury bug. Sometimes you don't. Last year we didn't. This year we did. You got to figure it out. The moves that have been made in the offseason are starting to be questioned. Did you do enough? Is this roster too old? Is your defensive coordinator any good? Did you get the right place kicker? Your 2 drafts, if you're Adam Peters, are now in question. And fair or not fair. That's just the nature of the beast when things don't go well and their expectations. People are starting to look at that 2024 inaugural draft, that foundation building draft, and saying, hey, shit's not that good. I think it's still too early. We're talking about year 2 of a draft. That is insane, but that's what people do in today's culture. It's a microwavable, it's a microwavable society that we live in. There is no patience for things to develop. People want results now. People are looking at this 2025 class. Oh, it's trash. It was 5 picks, and 4 out of the 5 picks have been starters practically the entire season. How this draft is viewed as trash, I don't know, but that's what happens when people are looking for a scapegoat. They're looking for someone to blame. All of these things, this confluence of all of this, when you add in the fact that you're losing games that you should be winning, you're sitting here at 3-4, staring 3-5 in the face, finding a fan base that wants to believe, but again, a lot of PTSD. You're dealing with a fan base that's been through a lot, and you're not helping the situation right now. You could very well come home next week on a Sunday night when they're retiring the jersey of one Arthur Monk. You could literally come home and find a 2/3 full stadium. Or you could find a bunch of Seahawks fans infiltrating the stadium because season ticket holders are bailing and selling their tickets because they don't want to be a part of it. As an organization, as a team, your job is to block out all the noise. All the shit I just said, it's just noise. It's coming from people like me, people like you, and, outsiders, talking heads, pundits, former players, media members. That shit doesn't matter. What matters is what everybody in that locker room believes. That is the essence of the Brotherhood. Are you willing to lay it on the line for the guy next to you, knowing that he would do the same for you? That's the Brotherhood. How far are you willing to go to find a way to get it done? That's the Brotherhood. When it was tested last year during a 3-game losing streak, they came out on the other side because Bobby Wagner stood up and made sure that the Brotherhood stayed intact. Are they going to be able to withstand this early season flurry? They got hit. This is a 17-round championship fight, and in the early rounds, we got beat up. Hit the canvas a couple of times, but we're not down and we're not out. We don't have to be. We can be. This is the stretch that's going to determine if we are or not. We're going to find out how strong the Brotherhood is tonight. DQ talked about it in his press conference on Saturday. We're going to talk about what he had to say. Because once again, he was answering Brotherhood questions because it's being tested. And we're going to find out the strength of this thing. Because if this thing isn't as strong as he's led on, this season will spiral out of control. And this team will not get off the canvas. They will not respond. And we're kind of back to ground zero. Not necessarily foundationally from an organizational standpoint, but all of that Brotherhood chatter from last year, that's gone. You got to start from the ground up next year. That's no place to be. If you're trying to build a consistent winner, you can't be starting over year after year after year. That's what the last group under Dan Snyder and company used to do. Every year was a new year that we were starting over, and not because it's a new entity and every year it's its own season. No. We were starting over because we couldn't carry over anything from the last season because the last season was a disaster. So you had to burn that and start all over. That's not what winning programs do. One of the monikers leading into this season from DQ was, we have to build off of last season. We don't want to replicate last season. We want to build off of it. Well, so far, that mission has not been accomplished. And now you got to lean as heavy into the Brotherhood as you've had to in your tenure here to see if the guys will respond in the manner that they need to show you that they're not going to quit, but rather going to fight tooth and nail until the end, no matter what it takes, no matter the cost, no matter how it feels. They're willing to put in and sacrifice to put this team in a position to win every week, which takes me seamlessly into my second takeaway from tonight. Proof of life. Proof of life. There haven't been many times in the DQ AP era that I've felt like this team was lifeless on the football field. And I started to question, is this about to go off the rails? Never happened once last year. We lost games last year, but never did it ever occur to me that this team lost hope, was lifeless. I don't know if they bounce back from this. A lot of losses hurt last season. The Dallas first game hurt. The Steelers game hurt. You know, to a lesser degree, the Eagles first game. The Ravens game. These were all games that you were in, that you had a chance to win, and you just didn't get it done. The only game that wasn't close last year that you lost in the regular season was week 1 against Tampa. And at that point, we didn't know what the hell to expect. There was a lot of reasons that you could chalk that one up to, hey, better team. First time that everybody was playing. No one really played in the preseason last year. Defense got tired. It's Jaden Daniels' first game, Cliff Kingsbury's first game. It was a lot of factors as to why that team didn't perform well in week 1 last year. But we didn't have games last season where we just got thoroughly dominated and you looked around and said, what the hell did I just watch? The Falcons game, we fought. We just weren't good enough. The defense wasn't good enough. Period. You were without key players. You fought your ass off. You just didn't have enough defensively. Week 2 against Green Bay, you were dominated, yet you were still in the game down a touchdown in the fourth quarter, excuse me. For as bad as we played, for as bad as we were dominated, we were down 1 score in the fourth quarter. Didn't feel like we were in it, but we were never out of it. The Bears game, we were literally winning that game until the end, till we weren't winning. And that was self-inflicted. We did that to ourselves. That felt a lot like last year's losses, when we lost games because we did it to ourselves. But that game last week against Dallas, That felt like Ron Rivera. That felt like Jay Gruden. That felt like Mike Shanahan. That felt like Jim Zorn. That felt like Dan Snyder. I had to check my pulse to see if there was still any life. I questioned, is this team about to bottom out? It felt over. That was the visceral reaction after the game. The instant reaction, oh, this season's done. Why? Because we've been here before. We've seen it before. We know what it feels like. We know what it smells like. We know what it looks like. That shit looked eerily similar to past years that went down the drain early because the team didn't have the wherewithal to fight. They quit. And I hadn't seen that from a DQ coach team since he's gotten here. I've always told the mob, when we're watching games and the shit's not going well and we're down 2 scores, I say, DQ's teams always fight. They always fight. We may not come back and win, but they're not going down without a fight. That team last week quit. DQ himself waved the white flag. I got no issues with it because we weren't coming back. Once Jaden left that game, we were demoralized. We were already shorthanded going in. He got hurt, and it felt like that was it. That was the air that left our sails. And at that point, he said, all right, we're cooked. But that team quit last week. We let the rope go. Now, I've injected hopium already, okay? So I'm willing to fight. Because if I wasn't, ain't no reason to take any hopium. I'm not selling hope if I think that this team has quit. I don't think that they have. But I'm not here about all of this. I'm about that action, boss. You can't tell me that you haven't quit. You got to show me you haven't quit. Tonight, it's about proof of life. I don't expect you to win this game. And shout out to everyone that's out here selling a win tonight. I'm proud of you. Good for you. I'm not one of those people selling a win tonight. I hope I'm wrong. Shout out to those of you who are pushing that narrative that this team's going to win. You're psyching yourself up, and I think you're psyching yourself up for disappointment. I had this same conversation with my dad yesterday. I said, boss, you're not beating Denver. You're not a good team. And he didn't want to hear it because of what they did to us last week. We out here selling false hope to teams that aren't even good. And I said, boss, you got to listen to me, bro. We got pressure with 4, and our front 4 has been decimated and ravaged by injuries, and y'all couldn't block us. Dak was throwing up footballs that should have been picked off against a better team. Those are picks. We had 2 opportunities for interceptions last week, but we don't like nice things. Denver's a much better defense. They're going to take advantage. And trust me, your defense still stinks. You're giving up 40 today. Those were my exact words. He didn't want to hear any of it. Because in his mind, we're going to get better. Because that's what you do as a fan. You tell yourself, oh, we did all of this stuff last week. We're going to be better moving forward. And he got a cold dose of reality yesterday. Hopefully that's not what you as fans who are out here spreading that narrative of, hey, we're going to win tonight. I hope you're not setting yourself up for that level of disappointment. That man, I left his house last night. He was dejected. That was that was the moment he realized, oh yeah, this season ain't going to be about a damn thing. He had got on this streak every week of picking Dallas because early in the season, he had come off of Dallas. He went like 2-3 weeks straight where he didn't pick the Cowboys to win. Then you know, they won a game here, they won a game there, and then all of a sudden now they tied with Green Bay. That gave him a lot of confidence. I've never seen a fan base so excited about a tie in my life. That gave him a boatload of confidence. Then that confidence was shaken a little bit when they tied. Yeah, they beat up the Jets. That gave him even more confidence. That confidence was shaken a little bit when they lost to Carolina, but he could lie to himself. Man, you know, Dak played so well and this, that, and the third. This defense going to get better when we get some. No, it's not getting better. Your defense is ass. But he could lie to himself. Then they came back and they beat the brakes off of us. And now he's feeling good about himself again. And he had to learn. You're not even close, bro. And I just hope that that's not what you're setting yourself up for tonight. But shout out to everybody that's preaching that we're going to win tonight. I hope you're right, and I hope I'm wrong. All I'm looking for tonight is what I told y'all 2 weeks ago. As soon as we lost to the Bears. I'm looking for competitiveness tonight. Proof of life. DQ told me today or Saturday, I just watched it today. He said that this is the same shit he was pushing when we beat the Chargers. We just had a great week of practice. We've only heard that twice this season. Leading up to the Chargers game, leading up to this game. We've only heard it twice that we had a great week of practice. Okay. So you say, show me. Don't tell me. Show me. Proof of life. I'm not expecting a win tonight. But if you go out here and you compete at a high level, you give yourself a shot, and you're just simply not good enough, I can live with that, and I feel confident moving forward that this team is going to turn their season around. You go out here and you get embarrassed on Monday night. The Chiefs make it look easy. Mahomes and Kelsey and company are chopping it up and keying on the sideline with 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Their day is done. Who the hell is their backup quarterback? Is it Gardner Minshew? Who the hell is the backup in Kansas City? I don't know who it is. I don't want to find out tonight. Unless some kind of crazy circumstances happen and Mahomes can't finish the game or he has to come out for any amount of time, I shouldn't be finding out who the hell their backup quarterback is. No, I have no interest in figuring out who that is because they've got a large enough lead where they can take him out. The Cowboys took Dak Prescott out of the game yesterday. The Broncos took Bo Nix out of the game yesterday. Why? Because this shit was over with about 6-7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It was done. I want no parts of that shit. None. Proof of life. That's what I'm looking for tonight. You give me that, and I'll keep selling hope to this fan base, and I'll keep pushing that agenda that this season is far from done. You go out and your body is lifeless like it was last week, and I've got no choice but to think that this season is dead. Dead, I tell you. The Brotherhood will be tested tonight like it's never been before. Want to see what that looks like, and I'm looking for proof of life. Let's get to in other news, where we're going to react to what head coach Dan Quinn had to say at his press conference on Saturday, which was the final day of practice before this game that we will see tonight versus the Chiefs. But before we do that, we got an injury report for both teams, the final before Monday night's contest. And we have a little bit more context to both of these injury reports, but more specifically the Commanders. So let's take a look at the good guys, their injury report, and then we'll take a look at the Chiefs and the ops. But we start with our injury report. DQ jumped at the on the mic, and the first thing that he said was that Jaden Daniels and Colston Yankoff would both be out. They did not make the trip to Kansas City. Everyone else got on that plane. So any and everyone else is available to be on the field tonight. Now, that could change. Deron Payne could not play tonight. Matt Gay could not play tonight. We'll talk about those two in particular here in a second. But everybody else you see, Sam Cosmi, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, Bobby Wagner, all good to go, no longer on the injury report with a designation. So those guys are going to play. Now let's focus on the two guys that are questionable. So Matt Gay has a back injury. The team took him with them to Kansas City. So he is currently in Kansas City. Now, Nikki Javala is all over this, and she's been kind of keeping us abreast of the situation. She put out a tweet earlier today that basically said that the team has about 3 options. One, Matt Gay could warm up, you know, when they get to Kansas City. He feels fine. He goes out there and he can kick tonight. That's a little dicey because if something happens to him during the game, his back locks up. Now you can't kick field goals and extra points. So there's a bit of a dilemma there. Now, second option is you can sign someone to the practice squad, which you would have to release them. You got till 6 o'clock tonight to sign someone to the practice squad that is a place kicker, which they were kind of put in a tough spot because this didn't crop up. This injury didn't really surface until Saturday. So it kind of put them in a scramble mode, but they've had enough time to figure out what the hell they're going to do with this kicking situation, to come up with a plan B and a C. So plan B is you bring somebody on, maybe a Zane Gonzalez, someone that's already been here. I would prefer it to be a brand spanking ass new kicker because I really want to take Matt Gay's spot anyway. Bring in a new guy that's capable. I don't think they're going to move on from the Matt Gay experiment. I think they're going to continue forcing this one because of what they've paid him. They can get out of it after the season, but they're going to milk this thing for as long as they can. And if he struggles too bad, then they'll get rid of him. But he'll miss a kick, then he'll make one. So he always kind of softens the blow, if you will. He's never went full like Cade York. Remember that first game? Cade York didn't make shit. He was 0 of 2, and they was like, we got to get him the hell out of here. Matt Gay is never 0 of 2. He's 1 of 2. He's 2 of 3, right? He never just fully, like, even if he's 1 of 3, he'll miss the first 2, but he'll make the last one, and the last one will be from 54, and you'll be like, you almost want him to miss that shit so he can completely wet the bed to the point where they say they got to do something. But he'll miss the first one, but he'll make the second one. And that's the lasting image. And they're like, yeah, no, we're good. We're good here. When we're really not. But so you can bring in somebody on the practice squad, have Matt Gay out, elevate that guy from the practice squad, voila, right? Or you can flat out just sign someone to the active roster as a place kicker, and Matt Gay can be sat down, or you can go into the game with that practice squad player as a call-up, but he won't actually play. Matt Gay will, but in case something happens, a la the Giants game last year where they didn't bring anybody up behind their place kicker, Graham Gano. Gano gets injured, and they had no one else to kick the football, and they had to go without a kicker, and it really impacted them in that game, if you recall. So they got options, but Matt Gay is in doubt for tonight's game. He is in doubt for tonight's game. I don't think any of us are losing any sleep that he might not be able to kick tonight. The goal was to keep him out of the affairs as much as possible tonight anyway, because you weren't winning any games kicking a bunch of field goals, but this game may come down to a field goal. If we're going to win, if the Chiefs are going to win, they probably don't give a shit about the field goal kicking game because they're going to win this thing going away, more likely than not. For us, if we're going to upset the Chiefs, we're not winning this thing by 2 scores, right? We beat the Chiefs. We're winning this thing by a field goal, a late field goal, something along those lines, right? So anyway, I digress. We'll see what happens. So Duran and his toe, I think he's going to play. All signs point to him playing. This is kind of reminiscent of Dorrance last week. Not saying that it's going to end up that way with Dorrance, but I just think they're kind of just trying to give him as much rest as possible on that toe to have him be prepared. The extra day definitely helps in this particular instance. I think he's going to play. The question is, how much of an issue is this toe moving forward? And, the thing that sucks with us is, we don't get any breaks. We don't have a bye week until week 12. So you still got over a month before this team gets the rest that it truly needs. So is this going to be an issue until the bye week? Probably. Will he have to miss a game at some point? Maybe. We'll see. I hope that's not the case, but I think he is going to give it a go tonight. I do expect him to play, but we'll see what happens. Now you get to the ops and the Chiefs and their side of things here. So told you Josh Simmons, their rookie left tackle, isn't going to play. He's been out for the last 2 weeks or so now. This will be his 3rd straight week out. I don't even know what's going on with him. It doesn't matter. Not my business. Knew he wasn't going to play, so he's out. Kareem Hunt, no longer on the injury report. I told you, expect him to be out there. The one that I told you to keep an eye on was Trey Smith, their right guard, and whether or not he would be able to go. He's listed as doubtful with the back injury. That is significant if he can't go. Now, the Chiefs' backup offensive linemen have been playing exceptionally well, but that's our in. If you were looking for like a piece of thread to pull on to see if you could have them unravel somehow offensively, that's your in right there. Their left tackle is out. Their right guard is potentially out. And their right tackle is a penalty machine. So if you this is one of those games where you wish you had Dorrance Armstrong, because he could force 2 holding penalties on Jawan Taylor, because he's a mess at right tackle. Jawan Taylor is. He's a false start machine. He's a holding machine. You can force penalties on him, but you have to have someone that can force the issue. I don't know if that guy exists for us right now. So he'll probably get away, but that's your opportunity right there with the offensive line having. Now, this is the thing. The Chiefs have dealt with these, issues, and they haven't missed a beat. So it's not like all of these injuries are just cropping up on them, and Josh Simmons is not playing in his first game. Like, they've been doing this without him. They're fine. So keep that in mind, but I'd rather them not have Trey Smith than have him in the lineup, right? So everybody else is playing, which is what we expected. I like the fact that 2 of their starting offensive linemen may be out of this game. And that when we've had success defensively this season, it's been against compromised offensive lines. Weeks 5, 3, and 1. Compromised offensive lines in each of those games. We took full advantage and dominated up front. Now, again, our defensive front is not the same as it was in week 1, 3, or 5. So I don't know if we're in the position to take advantage of it like we were in previous weeks, but such is life. I'd rather have the opportunity presented to us than not. You know what I mean? So that's that. Anyhow, let's get to the presser from DQ on Saturday. And he started off by naming the team captains, as he does on a weekly basis. Offensively, Luke McCaffrey is your captain. Defensively, Javon Kinlaw is your team captain. Special teams, Jacob Martin is your team captain. So those are your captains ahead of week number 8. He then announced that Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel would both be in the lineup, both having tremendous weeks of practice. He said both Jaden Daniels and Colson Yankoff would be out, which you've just seen on the injury report of this game. So they did not make the flight. And then Deron Payne, questionable with the toe. And he said that's something they'll continue to monitor. But he got on that flight. So that, again, gives me confidence that he's going to play. Again, he could not play, right? He could not play, but feels like he's going to be out there on Monday Night Football. Then he was asked about this week's practices and why does he think that the team, has improved? Why do you think they're going to be better from the last 2 weeks? And he said, we had really good practices this week. Again, that's the second time we've heard that this year. The previous time we heard it was against the Chargers, and you saw how the team played. Now, they did not come out smoking in that game. If you recall, we were down 10-0. They were driving for the dagger, and then Quan Martin made a play that we thought at the time might be the play that changes the entire trajectory of this season. And then we scored 27 unanswered points, won that football game. But he said that this week This was the first time in a long time. And I mean, I guess it makes a ton of sense when you think about the injury situation for this team. He said this is the first time they were able to get good on good work. You had Terry out there, you had Debo out there with a full week of practice. So the defense was actually like something that the defense didn't get this summer. Like, that's part of the reason I think this defense stinks. There was this false narrative of this defense being good. Every time we saw someone else's offense, they were carving up our defense. The Patriots joint practice, Drake May was going to work on this defense, but they tried to act as if this defense played well when they didn't. Anybody that was there was like, no, we got our asses whooped. Yeah, you let us tell it. Oh, we got some good work in this, that, and the third, but they never got to work against our ones because Terry wasn't in the lineup over the summer. Noah Brown wasn't in the lineup over the summer. And it was basically Debo Samuel and the rest of the wide receiver room, right? And so this is the first time in a long time, probably since week 3, because that's the last time Terry was on the field. This is the last time they've had a chance to get some good on good work, offense against defense. So it makes sense. It makes sense. He talked about the impact of Terry and Debo. We've talked about this ad nauseum. I don't have to talk your head off about the importance of having them out there. Like I told you, one guy stretches the field vertically, that's Terry. One guy stretches the field horizontally, that's Debo. You have to be, very wary of where those guys are at all times on the field. You have to game plan to stop those guys. If you don't, they can take advantage of it. So, and because of their ability to hurt you, you then have to make sure that you play defense consciously, acknowledging that those two guys are on the field, which should help the run game, right? And DQ pretty much said that as well, right? No one wanted to acknowledge that except for Cliff. No one wanted to acknowledge the impact. Like, DQ ran from it. But now that they're back, he's willing to admit, yeah, teams were playing us differently. Duh, we knew that. He talked about the depth of the roster and how, in certain spaces they thought they were really good, and in other spaces they wanted to find out. And he said, you really never want to have your depth necessarily tested the way that we have this season. But he said, you don't know if you have depth until it's tested. You think you have depth, but you don't really know until guys have to, be thrusted into the game, and you have to see what they can do. And clearly that's where we are right now with this team, right? And so he said that the one position that has surprised him the most was wide receiver. Remember, it was a mess this summer. No Terry, no Noah. It was all Debo. And then you had a collection of guys, veterans and young guys alike, that were just kind of meh. And he was like, I really didn't know what to expect from guys like Luke and Jalen. I didn't really know if we were going to be able to count on those guys or not. We were hoping we could, but, we didn't want to have to. Obviously, you were hoping that you stayed healthy, but that was one of the positions he said that surprised him, with those guys stepping up the way that they have. It's given them more confidence in the receiver room. Now that you got Terry and Debo back, with the way that Luke and Jalen have been playing, you should feel even better about that wide receiver room. And, you throw in Chris Moore. Oh my God, that's hard to say. And Robbie Chosen in there, and all of a sudden you kind of feel even better about this room. I actually like Robbie Chosen, man. I actually think he can really help this team more so than Chris Moore, but they love them some Chris Moore. So he said the depth has been tested for sure. He talked about B-Wags and his availability. Obviously he's playing, but Bobby was taken out of the game. We know Bobby's a guy that plays the 100% of the snaps every week. He did not play 100% of the snaps last week. That's because DQ took him out along with a number of other starters when this game got out of hand. And he said, Ben Standing asked him, well, who was the Mike in that situation when he came out? And he said it was Jordan McGee. And we already knew that that would be the guy that would step in, because, again, this was supposed to be an apprenticeship program. Jordan McGee was supposed to be the understudy last year. He was supposed to be taking vigorous notes last season. He was supposed to be handed over the reins to the middle linebacker position this year, but because he couldn't stay healthy last year and Bobby played so well, that got delayed by a year. Now we're hoping, because this is supposed to be it for Bobby here in Washington. Next year, we have to get younger. not trying to push Bobby out the door, but we understand that. And if Bobby plays well again this year, he's playing well right now. And if he continues to play well and they want to have him back, they are more than well. But you just got to find ways to get the young guys on the field. We can't keep delaying this process, though. And if Jordan McGee is healthy, which he is right now, then you got to start giving him reps. You got to start getting him out there. You got to start preparing him for his future role here in Washington as the signal caller. So we'd like to see that baton passed at some point, but it was good to see him get some work last week against Dallas. Then Ben Stanley asked him kind of a weird question. It wasn't like, it's not game specific. He just asked him about, training camp locale. Like, hey, the Chiefs are one of, few teams that still go away for training camp. Like the Steelers still go to Latrobe. The Bills still go to the college. I forget what it's called. And then the Chiefs still go away for a training camp as well. And he asked, is that something you would be interested in? You've said before that you would love to go away if, the ideal was the conditions were ideal for it. But DQ was like, we just try to have some trips. Last year we had a couple of trips where we were able to go out, and they had the joint practice last year with the Jets. And then they had the trip out to Arizona when they played Cincinnati and then went straight to Arizona and stayed out there. So he's like, you just want some of those. We had one of those already this year with the game against the Chargers, and then they're going to have another one when we go and play the Dolphins over in Madrid. So he's like, yeah, no, we good on that. Like we got, a couple of trips lined up. And as long as we got a couple of those every year, we should be straight. So we'll see how those go for the team. He was asked about things that were drilled into the team this week in terms of things that have to change. And he said the two biggest things were takeaways and playing faster. And he feels like one leads into the other. If you're playing faster, the takeaways will happen. I don't necessarily disagree with the playing faster piece leading to more takeaways, because I feel like a lot of times with some of these the balls that should be intercepted, we're just a step too slow. Like last week, Mikey should have jumped in front of that Dak pass. He got his hands on it, but if he was a step closer, that's an easy pick to the point where it could have been a pick six. Like if he'd have caught that pick, he wouldn't have been able to run. He would have had to dive and he was lunging forward to catch it, which would have taken him to the ground. He would not have been able to get up and then run for a touchdown. If he would have been playing faster, he's running towards that ball, picking it off while taking it towards the end zone simultaneously, right? But it just seems like we're always a step slow, always. So I get why he wants to play faster, and I get why he feels like playing faster will lead to more takeaways. We'll see. We'll see. Communication and explosives are, two massive talking points for this team. He said the communication hasn't really been the issue like it was earlier in the season. He wanted to make sure he reiterated that, like, hey, the communication has gotten better. It's still not where we want it to be, but it's not the reason why, we're having these big plays given up. He's like, these explosives, and he didn't get into the reasons, but he just basically said that the communication has been better. It's been good enough to not have the explosive plays happen. I think he was kind of hinting at, we just ain't playing well. And the calls and then he talked about the calls being scaled back, pared down, and all of that good stuff. And that's fine. But at the end of the day, whether it's a talent issue, it's a call issue, it just hasn't been good enough. And then he got to the Brotherhood conversation. And that was a lengthy conversation. The status of the Brotherhood, he was asked about that. Like, where is it at? And he said, we had a great week of practice. And I like where we are right now mentally going into this game. But he said, there were things that I needed to see. He said that going into this week, he wanted to find out if his message was, falling on deaf ears, and this brotherhood shit wasn't really panning out right now, or if, like I said, proof of life. And he said he saw what he needed to see at practice this week, but he said this shit has to carry over to the game. He's like, if it don't carry over the game, then it don't mean shit. All it means is that we've just practiced well. But practicing well don't win you games if you don't carry that shit over to the field. So he's like, like I said, this is a big brotherhood game. We're going to find out just how strong the brotherhood truly is. I know there are guys in that locker room who care, who this shit means something to, man. This shit means something to me, man. It's some guys in that locker room who this shit means something to. And they wear it on their sleeve, and you see it. After these losses, that shit wears on them. We're going to find out if these dudes are willing to lay it out on the line, find a way to get it done. Look, I'm just looking for proof of life. That's it. Be competitive tonight. I can live with that. I can live with that. Adversity. He was asked about being proactive versus reactive. When times of adversity hit, people usually react to the adversity instead of getting ahead of it, right? It's hard to get ahead of adversity once it's already started. But if you can see where it's heading, you can then be proactive. But the human nature thing to do is to try to put a Band-Aid on the thing that has already happened. So now you're being reactive, right? So the question then becomes, how do you avoid being so reactionary, that you're not being proactive? And, DQ talked about, like, it's hard. He's like you said, it's human nature to be reactive in those situations. So right after the game, you're pissed off. You want to fix everything that happened in this game, but that game already happened. You can't win that game now. But what you can do is take the things that didn't go well in this game, make them teachable moments, and then use those things to be ready for the next opponent, is essentially what he said. And so he said bitching about it isn't going to change anything. You got to get in there and you got to come up with solutions. This is what I tell y'all all the time. This should sound very familiar to y'all because a lot of y'all are like this. When adversity hits, you want to bitch about what the last regime didn't do. Oh, and if Ron Rivera would have drafted better and this, guess what? That shit already happened, bro. How many times you going to bring it up? We can't change the fact that they drafted Jamin Davis and Emmanuel Forbes and Jahan Dotson and Fedarian Mathis. We can't change that shit. That already happened. Chase Young got drafted. It didn't work. That already happened. You got to figure out what are the solutions. Stop talking to me about what isn't. Oh, DQ and AP should have done more in the offseason. They knew. Okay, well, they didn't. This is what we got. This is the hand we were dealt. How are we going to play these cards? How are we going to play these cards? I'm solutions based. Don't keep bitching and harping about what didn't happen, why we didn't do this. What can we do moving forward to rectify the situation? And that's essentially what DQ has said. That's the way I operate. And I've told you guys that before. And then he talked about the volume of all the injuries. And he was like, it's tough when you get hit with as many as we got hit this early, this fast. He's like, if they get spread out and you have a chance to kind of react, move some pieces around, make the puzzle still fit together, you're fine, right? But when you get hit like we did at defensive end, when it's Dietrich Wise 1 week, then the next week is Javonte John Baptiste, and then the next week it's, Dorrance Armstrong, and you're just like back to back to back, like, damn. Before I could plug this hole, here comes another leak, and then another leak, right? And it's happened at multiple positions. It was Noah, then it was Terry, then it was Debo, and you're just like, shit. Can I catch my breath for a second? Can I figure out how I'm gonna deal with the first one before you hit me with a second one? I still ain't dealt with the first one. You didn't hit me with a second one. Now here comes a third one. So we've seen that this season where it's just like one after another, after another, after another. So he's like, that's the part that has made it tough. But hopefully we're about to come back out on the other side. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. That was DQ and his press conference from Saturday. We'll see what it yields. He said we had the team had a great week of practice. Let's see what happens if that transfers over to the field tonight and we see a team that's prepared like we did all last season, right? And no matter what the outcome was, the team never looked like they lacked preparedness. We've seen teams this season that look like they've lacked preparedness. Let's not look like that team tonight. I don't expect them to. I don't expect them to. Let's see what it looks like. Before we get to the game plan, let's get a word from one of our sponsors. We'll come back on the other side, and then we'll get to the game plan and what it's going to take for this team to pull the massive upset on Monday Night Football.
Sleeper is the best way to experience and connect over sports together. It's a one-stop shop for all of your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat in the games in real time with other users, get the fastest scores, blazing fast news and alerts right at your fingertips. Play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. So enjoy sports the way they were meant to, together. Download the #1 sports app today. Predict the hottest football stats like passing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and much more to cash in on your daily fantasy football skills. Use promo code LTN and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Sleeper.
All right. So now we've arrived at the game plan. What is it going to take for the Commanders to pull the improbable, the impossible upset on Monday Night Football against this high-powered, dynastic Kansas City Chiefs football team? The Kansas City Chiefs. It's going to take a whole hell of a lot, especially without Jaden Daniels in the lineup. It's not impossible, but it's improbable and highly unlikely. But here's what they'll have to do if they have any chance at winning. Start with the offensive keys to the game. First one. This is the biggest one on the offensive side. Like, if you don't do this one, you got no shot. I don't care what else you do in the game. You don't do this, you got no chance. You got no chance. That's what you got. The first offensive key, mistake-free football, period. End of discussion. You don't do that, you got no chance. You're already at a deficit just showing up on the field. They show up at midfield, you show up at midfield, you're already at a deficit because they're just better than you are. Period. Way better. Way healthier, better coached, all of that shit. Better players, the whole 9 yards. So you can't help them. They don't need it. We need the help, not them. So that means you got to limit penalties. You're not going to be perfect. You're not going to go out here and have 0 penalties for 0 yards in this game. I don't expect that. But you also can't have, like you did against Dallas last week, 11 penalties. That's not going to help you win this game. Okay? You have no shot with 11 penalties. You probably got no shot with 7 or 8. This number has to be somewhere around 4, preferably 3, no worse than 5. No worse than 5. And they can't be 30-yard pass interference penalties. It's got to be 5 yards, offsides, illegal shift. Those 5-yarders, The ones on third down, like illegal contact that gives them, like you can't have those. We had that against Dallas where we sacked Dak Prescott. It was a bullshit ass, roughing the passer penalty. But even if that shit had gotten picked up, we still had an illegal contact down the field on Mikey Samer still. So the shit was holding, I believe. Shit still was going to be an automatic first down. We can't have those. We can't have those. That goes for offense and defense. You can't have the penalties. You most certainly can't have them on defense. On offense. And then, I know I don't have to say this, but mistake-free football means you can't turn the ball over at all. Not once. You can't even be close to a turnover. Every game that Marcus Mariota has participated in this season, he's turned the ball over. That has to stop tonight. Had the fumble against the Raiders in week 3, threw the interception in a bad one, I may add, against the Falcons in week 4, and then threw the pick 6 last week against Dallas. He's turned it over. He went from not turning it over a single time last year in all of his performances to turning it over every single time he has seen the field this year. I know he's capable of taking care of the football. I know he can. And if we're going to have a chance tonight, he has to take care of the football. Every possession, then this falls under mistake-free football. Every possession must end in a kick. No if, no ands, no buts about it. Unless you're going for a 2-point conversion. That's the only way a possession shouldn't end in a kick. But even still, that's going to end in a kickoff, no matter what. Right? This team, if they go for it on 4th down, have to convert. That's as good as a turnover. If you don't convert on 4th down, if you go for it on 4th and 2 and you don't convert, that's as good as a turnover. Can't have it tonight. If you go for it on 4th down twice, last week we went for it on 4th down twice, we were 0 of 2. You're dead in the water. You go for it twice on 4th down tonight, you got to be 2 of 2. You got to be 2 of 2. Every possession either ends in a punt, a field goal, an extra point, or a kickoff. In case you go for it, a 2-point conversion. But it better end in a kick. If it doesn't, we're in trouble. Next offensive key. This has to be the best 3rd down conversion rate of the season. No equivocations. This is not up for debate. We can't have a discussion. We can't just fall short. Our best 3rd down conversion day this season came in week 3 versus the Raiders. Also a Marcus Mariota authored game where we went 50%, 5 of 10. We either have to equal that or best it. You go 5 of 10 tonight, you got a shot to win the game. It probably needs to be 6 of 10, though, if we're being honest with one another. Probably needs to be 6 of 10. You got to come away with your best 3rd down conversion. This is why it's important. This is why this is here. And I put this underneath this same offensive key. We have to win time of possession. Got to. It's not optional. If we do not do this, then we have a problem. Why? Because we can't put our defense on the field more than our offense is on the field. As a matter of fact, our offense has to play defense tonight. Let me say that again. Our offense has to play defense tonight. It not only has to play offense and score, it has to play defense so that the Chiefs do not score. We know we can't trust this defense to do nothing. So instead of asking this defense to do the things that we know they're not capable of, how about you just put them in a position where we ask less of them? Offense, the onus is on you. Fair or not fair, you have to control the pace of this game. You have to control time of possession, and the only way you can do that is by converting 3rd downs. Something we haven't done at all with any efficiency this season. We're 24th in the league at 35% on 3rd downs. You don't change that tonight, this shit will get out of hand, and it'll get out of hand fast. Next offensive key. The bill is due. The bill is due. The run game has to be the catalyst tonight. Mariota's going to chip in. Debo's got to chip in. Bill has to be the main event, though, of the evening. As much as I'm excited about Terry and Debo being back, and they need to have their impact, we'll get to them in a second. This is about the run game. The Chiefs can be run on. The Chiefs can be run on. However, we have to make a conscious decision that we are going to run the football. Marcus is going to be a part of that. I have no doubts. Marcus is going to have a night tonight running the football. He's going to have to. That's going to open up the run game for us. We have to have success on the ground. Bill has been awfully quiet the last 2 weeks. We went from National Bill Day after the Chargers game to this man being on a milk carton. Hey, the bill is due. We past due now. They sending red notices to the crib. They talking about shutting this shit off. No power, no wild water. The bill is due. It's time to pay up. Time to pay up tonight. The run game has to be in full effect. That's going to keep the clock running. That's going to help us with time of possession. And most importantly, it's going to keep that stinking, funky-ass defense off the field. You don't run the ball tonight, I got nothing for you. Now you're asking Marcus Mariota and the 25th best pass offense, who's not even averaging 200 yards a game, to go win you a game. Good luck with that shit. Against this Steve Spagnuolo coach defense that's going to blitz the draws off of us, play tough, sticky man coverage, and see if we can beat it. Please run the football tonight with some success. You can run against the Chiefs. I need 150 yards or more, and I need at least 2 touchdowns on the ground. That is who we've been this season. When we've been at our best, it's usually 200. It's usually 200. But I'm not even asking for that. $150 and 2 scores on the ground. Total as a team. And then the last offensive key. Score, and the leaders have to lead. I'm talking about Terry, Debo, Ertz, and Mariota. Y'all are the leaders on the field. Offensive line got to do their job. But of the skill position players, Debo, Terry, Ertz, and Mariota, you guys are the clear leaders. You're the veterans. All the rest of these dudes are puppies running around here. They don't know no better. You got to show them the way. That means, hey, Ertz, you can't be dropping a football, bruh. This ain't one of them nights where you could have one of those brain farts on 3rd and 4 where you just forgot the ball. Can't happen. I don't give a shit if it's too high. Figure it out. That pass that Jaden threw you against the Chargers that you dropped and didn't get another target, that's a catchable football. You had a drop against the Cowboys early in the game. That was a very catchable football. Catch the damn ball. And that goes for everybody. Jalen Lane, you get the ball, catch the damn ball. But the leaders got to lead. Debo, Terry, Ertz, they got to lead. Marcus, they got to lead by example. They got to set the tone. As those guys go, the rest of the team going to follow. J-Mac and all those dudes can't have the drop out of the backfield, J-Mac. We know how important your catch on 3rd down usually is for us. Got to catch the ball. Got to catch the ball. Leaders got to lead, and we got to score. You want to win this game, 27 points or more is what it's going to take. And I don't see us scoring more than 27. 27 points or more is what it's going to take. 27 has been pretty much our high for the season. When the offense is playing quote unquote well, 27 is what we usually put up. Right? That's what we put up against the Chargers. That's what we put up against the Falcons, right? 27 points. That's what we usually put up when the offense is well. We'll see what it does. Yeah, we put up 41 against the Raiders, but we had some explosives. We had a punt return for a touchdown. We had a lot of shit going on in that game. Ultimately, 27 is what it's going to take. I'm going to just let you know now, and I'm going to talk about this more when we get to the defensive side, which we're about to here in a second. But this game can't be played in the high 20s, low 30s. That's a shootout. That's technically a shootout. Bang, bang. Hey, we don't have them kind of guns. Okay. We got guns and shit. We ain't got them kind of guns. Not like they do. And we damn sure don't have the ammunition. Okay. Once we shoot off all our bullets, we hiding behind shit, trying to figure out a plan of how we gonna get out of here while they just letting shit off. They just letting off rounds. We got to be very strategic on how we shoot our shits, because we ain't got but so many. That means we got to keep this a low-scoring affair. We can't get into a shootout. We got guns, but they got guns that go brat, brat, rat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat. We got those pew, 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 pew guns. It's a big difference. 27 points should be enough, just like it should have been enough against Atlanta. You scored 27 tonight. You've given us a chance, offense. You've given us a chance. Defensive keys. This is big. It's not the end of the world, but it's big. I need either 2 shutdown drives. If you're a member of the mob, then you know what a shutdown drive is. I always talk about these during the course of a game. I'll explain what it is in a second for those of you who aren't privy to that information. Or I need 1 shutdown drive and a takeaway produced. Okay? So those are your options. I either need 2 shutdown drives, 2, or 1 shutdown drive and 1 takeaway produced. Okay. So what is a shutdown drive? Very simple. In baseball, when your team scores runs at the top of that inning or the bottom of the inning, depending on where you are, right? Let's just go with the premise because we're on the road. Let's just treat it like you're the road team in a baseball game. You score runs at the top of the inning. Now you need your pitcher to come on the mound and you need them to get you off the field without giving up any runs. That's what you call a shutdown inning. You scored runs, the other team did not. That is how you not only build a lead, assuming that the game was tied or you were already ahead. Let's just assume the game is tied at 0-0. You go out in the top of the first and you get 3 runs. Well, guess what? I don't want to go give those runs back. I don't want to give up 2 runs, right? I don't want to give up 3 runs, or of course not 4 or 5 more than I just scored. I want to go out and I want to give up no runs. Now you've got a lead and you've got momentum. That's called a shutdown inning. I call that a shutdown drive in football. When you score points on offense, the defense needs to now take the field and get the ball back to the offense without giving up any points so that the offense can build off of the momentum they've just established. We're one of the worst teams in the league at that. When we score, we allow the other team to go and score immediately. It was never more apparent than the Cowboys game last week, right before the half. That was a backbreaker. A backbreaker. It's why we didn't beat Atlanta. Every time the offense scored, the defense promptly gave up a score. You want to know why we beat the Chargers? Because the defense produced shutdown drive after shutdown drive after shutdown drive after starting the game down 10-0. They produced turnovers. They produced 3-and-outs. They produced stops. And that's why the Chargers didn't score any more points, because they gave the offense opportunities to build off of the touchdown they just scored. And they gave it back to them, and they scored again. And then the Chargers drove, then they picked the ball off, gave it back to the offense, and what did they do? A 99-yard, 13-play, 8-minute masterpiece. Game, set, match, God bless, and good night. But you got to get stops, shutdown drives. It's hard to build momentum when the offense scores and then you just give the shit right back. So you either got to produce 2 shutdown drives, meaning I don't give a shit if it's a field goal or a touchdown, preferably they're touchdowns. 2 drives that we score on, you got to stop Kansas City from scoring altogether. And I don't give a shit what it looks like. Whether they go for it on 4th down, stop their ass. Whether they go 3-and-out, punt, or you produce a turnover. 2 shutdown drives or 1 shutdown drive and a takeaway. And a 4th down stop is just as good as a takeaway in my book. They're the same thing. They're the same damn thing. You may not get credited with a takeaway, but that's a damn turnover in my book. Next defensive key. Stop the run. They can't have a 2-way go of it. The Chiefs are not a good rush offense. Mahomes is literally their rush offense. They're not a good run offense. They're not. And I'm fearful of what Mahomes is going to do to us tonight. I really am. I'm afraid that he's going to run. Like, if he has to, he may not have to. He may not have to leave the pocket. But we don't have great rush lane discipline. And Mahomes has never been afraid to take off and run for 27 yards if he has to. And I could see us giving up some of those tonight, unfortunately. But what they can't have is Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco and Brashard Smith or whomever else is trying to touch the football in a running capacity. We can't. The jet sweeps to Xavier Worthy and, Hollywood Brown and their speedster, that shit can't hurt us. You can't give up big yards on the ground because they're already going to hurt us through the air. We know this to be a fact. You cannot let them have a 2-way go of it on offense. You got to pick a struggle. You know you're going to give it up through the air. Okay, fine. They can't have it on the ground too. Next defensive key. Mahomes can't eclipse 260 yards passing. Make them earn everything. So we've only kept quarterbacks under 250 yards this season twice. In 7 games, only 2 quarterbacks have not eclipsed 250 passing yards in that game. And you know the 2 games. I don't have to tell you which 2 they are. I'm going to tell you anyway. Giants week 1, Russell Wilson was awful. It was the best game defensively we've had all season. And then we stymied Justin Herbert after a quick start in his game. He struggled. He didn't even make it to 170 yards passing in that game. He struggled too. Everybody else had a field day against this defense. No turnovers, usually multiple touchdowns. If not, just 1. It's rare that we pitch a shutout in the touchdown department. Only done that 1 time this season, and that was Russell Wilson in week 1. Everyone else has at least thrown 1 touchdown pass. Usually no interceptions. Usually a crazy completion percentage. You let Joe Witt tell you, though, we're not that bad in completion percentage. Bullshit. Every week we look up and somebody's going 22 of 27 like Michael Penix did against us for 313 yards. And you're just like, shit. Dak was super efficient last week. Like, I expect Mahomes to be super efficient tonight, but you got to it can't be the explosives. We got to make him nickel and dime, dink and dunk. We got to tackle, keep the gains to a minimum, and make them earn it. If it's a 13-play, 6-minute drive, we won. That's a win for us. Even if it ends in a touchdown, that's a win. Because they just shorten the game, which is what we have to have tonight. We don't want to get, again, we're not equipped to get into a shootout with the Chiefs. We don't want this to turn into a track meet. We don't want them scoring in 2 minutes and 47 seconds, 3 minutes and 19 seconds. We don't want that. We need them to put together a drive. And if it ends in a touchdown, so be it. We've got to match it. But what we can't have is we go on this 7-minute drive and then they score in 3 minutes and 15 seconds. That can't happen. Make them earn everything. If the offense does their job and they shorten the game, Mahomes shouldn't be able to get to 260. They just shouldn't be enough possessions and enough time for him to do it. If you're doing your job, of course. But if you're out here giving up 50-yard explosives every other possession, oh, he'll eclipse 260 in no time. No worries. And even if he doesn't eclipse 260, but you're giving up 30, 40-yard pass interference penalties, that shit is just as good for them. They don't give a shit how they get it. They just want it, right? So don't give it to them. Make them earn everything they get. That's the basis of that particular key to victory. Make them earn everything they get. And then last thing on the defensive side, Chiefs can't score more than 26 points. You want to win this game, it's got to be 27-23, 27-26. It's got to be something along the again, if this game gets played in the high 20s, low 30s, you lose. You lose. If this thing gets into the mid to high 30s, you got no chance. That's what you got. This ain't last year's offense that's explosive, dynamic, can't be stopped. This ain't that. We can't get into a tit for tat with nobody. We haven't proven that we can do that yet. This ain't the game to try to flex your muscles and show off. Man, put your shirt on, man. Don't nobody want to see your bird chest. This ain't the time to be trying to show off, little man. Put your shirt on. This ain't that type of party, all right? You want to win this game, this shit has to be played in the low to mid-20s. That's your only shot, which is why the offense has to play ball control and keep away, shorten the game, and shorten the amount of points that are put up on the scoreboard. Again, that's your only shot. There's a specific way you can win. You can't deviate from that game plan. You can't go rogue. You don't have, the Chiefs have 17,000 different ways they can win tonight. 17,000 different ways they can win. They don't need just one. They could beat us with defense. They could beat us with their special teams chipping in. They could beat us with their offense just being dominant. They could beat us by throwing it. They could beat us by running it. They can beat us by doing both. They could produce turnovers on defense. They could do a myriad of things and win this game. We have one way we can win. We're not going to produce a bunch of turnovers. It's not in our DNA. It would be nice if the special teams made a big play tonight. That would help. Anything helps. I'm not counting on that. But that would be nice. Right? The bottom line is the red zone defense, which is why you got to make them earn everything. Don't give up the explosive touchdowns. Make them earn it because our red zone defense hasn't been trash this season. It's not great, but it's not like you get down there, you're automatically getting in the end zone. And Mahomes has had his biggest foo-bars down inside that 5-yard line. One of our biggest plays to date this season defensively came down inside the 5-yard line with the Mikey Sainristil interception of Justin Herbert. Mahomes has thrown 2 of those this year, and they've lost both of those games, and those were game-altering plays. Could we make it a third? You got to force them into that spot, though. You got to force them into that spot. You can't give up the explosives. All right. So that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. For me, They're going to be competitive in this game. This is going into the fourth quarter, this is a 20-16 game going into the fourth quarter. We're hanging tough. We are hanging tough. We get a field goal to make it 20-19. They scored 14 points in the final frame, pull away 34-19. That's how this night ends. But we were highly competitive for 3.5 quarters before this thing got away from us. I've seen this movie before against the Chiefs. Back in 2021, where we were up, if you recall, at halftime of that game. I think it was 13-10. We had picked Mahomes off, 2 times in the first half? And we forced a fumble to Travis Kelce, I believe. We had 3 turnovers, 3 takeaways in the first half. And then Dustin Hopkins missed a field goal to start the second half, and we never rebounded. And I think we lost that game 31-13, if I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves me correct. They went off, scored 21 unanswered points, won that game going away. But I think that was the last time we saw the Chiefs. We'll have a shot in the fourth quarter, but we're not getting it done. I expect this team to show that they have a pulse. So let's get to the comment section and I'll get you guys out of here. Luck. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Luck writes, I bet my life savings on the Chiefs so we can win. Oh, if you bet your life savings, you're going to double your money tonight. You're good, bro. You're good. That's what you just did was a happiness hedge, but you're going to be happy because you rather have the money than the Commanders win tonight. So you'll be happy. You'll be happy. You'll be fine. Jared Fromm, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, if BT Jr. is actually available, Brian Thomas Jr., would you make a trade package for him, even if it involved Terry? Not saying trade Terry, just curious is all. It depends on what you would have to give up in addition to Terry. I'd definitely be interested. Like, no one wants to give up Terry, but you have to acknowledge that Brian Thomas Jr. is in the second year of a 5-year rookie deal. So you've got a ton of time on, with him on this rookie contract, similar to Jaden, where he can continue to grow. He already has a rapport with Jaden. You can continue to, this dude, look, he struggled this year mightily, which is why he's available in the first place. They don't think he fits their culture in Jacksonville. They don't love what he's produced for them. But we saw what this man did last year. He's not an imperfect player. He's got his flaws. However, you don't do what he did in his rookie season on accident. Like, this dude is a dog. So, hell yeah, I'd be interested if the price were right, but we don't have any resources. Like, if the Jags were truly interested in Terry and it didn't require us giving up, look, we don't have a second round pick. It didn't require us giving up our 3rd round pick either. Let's say if they said, yeah, we'll give him, you give us Terry and a 5th and we'll give you Brian Thomas Jr. Yeah, I'd do that deal. Hell yeah, I'd do that in a heartbeat. You just got younger. You just got a number 1 receiver on a cheap contract for the next 3 years that you could marry with Jaden moving forward. So yeah, hell yeah, I'd do that in a heartbeat, without question. Love Terry to death, but Terry ain't getting any younger. If you can get that kind of guy, that would do wonders for us. But I mean, Jacksonville's not giving this kid away. Like, you know what I mean? And what I'd be willing to give up and what they'd be willing to accept are 2 different things. They're probably not looking to get older. They just want draft compensation, draft capital. It's going to help them continue to build their, roster. If they want to win now, then a guy like Terry would definitely help them. But if they don't think Brian Thomas Jr. is that guy, but if you're Adam Peters, you should definitely pick up the phone and just inquire, see what it would take. You know, you should definitely check and see. But again, you can't keep giving up draft picks if you're the Commanders and expect to get younger. Like, that's the problem with our fan base is every time someone becomes available, our fan base wants to trade, wants to do something. Hey, we need to trade. We need to get this guy. We need to get that guy. But then you can't be screaming that we're an old team. You stay old if you keep giving away draft picks. We have to be collecting them, not giving them away. So, but I'm definitely like, this is one of those rare exceptions where I'm like, no. I'm interested. What is it going to take, though? The price has to be right. Brandon Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Brandon Davis writes, the last 3 teams we lost to all got handled yesterday. All that I ask is, why couldn't we do what Denver, Miami, and Baltimore did? Simple. Denver, Miami, and Baltimore were all healthier than we were. Miami had their starting quarterback. Baltimore had all of their weapons except their quarterback. And oh, by the way, Baltimore's defense, way better than ours. Just in case you forgot. Right? Like, Kyle Hamilton was back. Roquan Smith was back. So they got all their pieces back. Marlon Humphrey was out there. They were fine, right? Their young corner from Clemson, Wiggins, I think his name's Wiggins. He was out there. So they were good. We weren't when we played them 2 weeks ago. And we still should have beat them. By the way, we don't turn the ball over. We still beat the Bears. But our defense isn't good. We don't give up that 55-yard bullshit-ass 5-yard pass that turned into a 55-yard touchdown. We beat the Bears. But we got a bullshit-ass defense. Newsflash, we're not Denver. Our defense isn't Denver's defense. Bo Nix had all of his receivers. A-L-L, all of his receivers. Not one, not two, not all of them. Every single last one of them. Oh, and their defense is like that. So, yeah, I watched those games too. The one that shocked me out of them, all of them, was Miami. But guess what? Miami played against Kirk Cousins. Did we get the benefit of Kirk Cousins? Miami played against a Drake London-less. Let me say that again. A Drake London-less, Michael Penix Jr.-less Atlanta Falcons team. Did we get that benefit? Sometimes it's not who you play, it's when you play them. We played Dallas when we were as banged up as we ever will be this season. Ever. 1, 2, and 3 receivers, all gone. You lose your best pass rusher 2 plays into the game. Those teams weren't dealing with that. The circumstances were different. And the Falcons had half their offense out. You know that Bijan Robinson fumble he had against us that we didn't recover? The Dolphins did recover that fumble. We didn't, because we never recovered the fumble. But they did. It's just little shit like that too. But overall, they didn't have their starting quarterback or their best receiver, did the Falcons in the game. Not to mention, we didn't have our quarterback or our number 1 wide receiver or our number 3 wide receiver. Shit went off the rails. You sit here and we can make all the excuses if we want, but those teams are better than us. The Dolphins aren't, but they caught a break. They played the Falcons at the right time. They got a bunch of injuries. They played them at the right time. And Baltimore's defense and Denver's defense, way better than our defense. And, oh, by the way, those 2 teams were a lot healthier than we were playing the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas is ass. Tried to tell my dad that, I'm like, if we would have been semi-healthy, we'd have whooped y'all ass. Bust your shit. But we didn't have anybody. Y'all took advantage of that. Good for y'all. It sucks watching Baltimore beat Chicago, knowing that we should have beat Chicago. That one, that's the one that hurt my heart yesterday. Like, man, Caleb is ass. Like, when it's all said and done, like, we should have beat them. But such is life. Such is life. Ethan Dykes. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, hey, Lou, who's one player we drafted from the last 5 years or so that might actually still help if they were here? I mean, there's a couple of guys that come off the top of the dome, like Montez Sweat and Chase Young would still help. Of course, assuming health. Chase Young forced a fumble yesterday against Tampa Bay. Like, Chase Young wasn't asked. Our problem with him is he was never healthy. And then when he did get healthy, you remember when you have a major knee injury, it takes like 2 years for you to be back to who you really truly are. You don't just, and that we never gave him the space to recover and get back to what he was before. And I think what really hurt him is that he did a lot of talking. He got in his feelings. He's young. So he's hearing everything that's being said. He's reading everything that's being said about him. And there was a lot of shit talk, right? Because he talked a lot of shit. And he wasn't showing up for the OTAs, and he was doing commercials, and then the play wasn't going well. And so people turned on him, which, that's what fans do. There's no loyalty in this game, man. And he found that out the hard way. But he actually didn't play poorly for New Orleans last year. He's playing well for them now. Just he was hurt early in the season. Saints fans kind of got a little restless because they kept waiting for him to show up, but he's been playing, and like I said, he's been really solid. Like Montez Sweat would be solid. Again, he's not getting to the damn quarterback. I don't miss Tez at all. Chase Young probably would have been, still really solid because he stops the run, right? But he also has those times where the switch goes on and off, right? The motor runs hot and cold. And so there's those times that would have probably pissed this staff off and pissed you off watching him, like Chase Young won't hustling on that play. So there's still some of those shit. But I tell you this much, Chase Young right now is better than any of the shit that we got at defensive end that we putting on the field right now. Jacob Martin, bless his heart, he plays hard. But Jacob Martin ain't Chase Young from a talent standpoint. So, yeah, like those guys, I think Cam Curl would be a really good fit in this defense. I'm actually shocked that they never gave him a chance to come back, because I felt like he was the type of smart football player that would have fit what they wanted to do defensively, and he was versatile. I just always felt like Cam Curl would have been a great fit for them, and they just never gave Cam Curl a chance here. I think he would have been a much better fit in this defense than and again, no shade to Jeremy Reeves, but I think Cam Curl would have been a lot better at safety. Smart football player, get guys lined up. A guy that you can trust to get guys on the ground most of the time. Can catch the football. That would have been a guy that could help for sure. But yeah, again, hindsight's 2020. Ethan Dykes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, while we are saying Chase, I'd take Cam Curl, laughing my ass off. Yeah, I just mentioned Cam Curl. Chase Young would definitely would help this team defensively. But and that's less about like loving Chase Young and more to do with just the state of our defensive end position right now. Like, we just don't have it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we hurting at defensive end so bad right now. But yeah, it's been rough, to say the least. It's been super rough. It is what it is. Did you see Jahan Dotson go up and moss on a giant defender for a touchdown yesterday? I'm like, what the? Get the fuck out of here, bro. Get out of here with that shit. Ethan Dykes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Mariota got to channel Heineke tonight. Hell. He got to channel his inner Heineke, his inner Colt McCoy, like his inner Alex Smith. All of them dudes that went on the road in improbable situations on a Monday night and stole a game we had no business getting. That's what he's got to channel tonight. And he's capable. But those teams that I just mentioned won't this Chiefs team that we playing tonight. Okay. You know, whether it was Heineke against the Eagles in 2023, I believe it was, or 2022, excuse me, 2022, or it was Alex Smith against the Steelers in 2020, or it was Colt McCoy in 2016, I believe it was, against Dallas. Not 2016. I think the Colt one was like 2014. I think it might have been Jay's first year here. I think. Whatever it was, one of those type nights. I think it was 2014 with Colt. Whatever the case may be. Don't get your hopes up. That's all I'll tell you. Don't get your hopes up. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Commanders Nightly News. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys later on this evening. For those of you interested, I've got a skill game coming up, and give a quick synopsis of the game. I've already done that here, though. Also going to give you some insight into some things that I'm going to put some make some picks on the Sleeper app. So that's coming up here shortly. Obviously, I got to do my Bleacher Report obligation after the game, but as soon as that's done, coming over here, win, lose, or draw, whatever it looks like, whether it's just an absolute slaughtering and there's blood and guts everywhere. And I talked about this team showing proof of life, but they died on the field that night. Whatever it looks like, or somehow, some way, we are celebrating the improbable, the impossible being done. Whatever it looks like, we'll be here to break it all down. So I'll see you guys tonight. I fully expect this team to be 3-5. There's a way that you can be 3-5 and still leave here with your dignity intact. And there's a way you could leave here tonight at 3-5 and feel like the sky is falling and this season is definitely over. Either could be true. Either could not be true, or you could leave this game back at 500 at 4-4, feeling like anything's possible, and that also could not be true. This is a week-to-week league. You never know. I'm banking on 3-5, but this team's showing some resolve and fighting and giving me hope for the next couple of weeks that this team can weather this storm and put themselves in a position to compete for this division, which I haven't given up on. Eagles have a bye. They come off that bye, and then they play Green Bay, and then shit gets tough for them. Shit gets tough for them. Chargers, Packers, they still got some tough games on their schedule. Bills, not saying they're going to lose those games. They're fully capable. But they got Dallas again, in Dallas, and we still got them twice. We still got them twice. I like our chances. But we got to take care of us. So, anyway, I digress. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. And hopefully I'll see you tonight. And I'll see you under some incredible circumstances. That's the hope. Don't count on it. Don't hold your breath. You guys have a good one. Take care. God bless. Peace.